Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Hey, Sean, RJ. It's time to move on, but that was a tough loss up there the other night. And when you saw a game like we all saw last night between Washington and Philadelphia, you realize how important each of these games are, each of these opportunities are. And that was a missed opportunity. We overall will have to overcome, really, in a lot of different ways, whether it's our one loss or whether it's, frankly, our ability to build. But I think Coach said it best after the game. He said this is such a hard thing to have played and to end up on this end of the score. We've got to build on it. We've got to make something good out of this and be a better team for it. And that's a real challenge for everybody.
Yeah, Jerry, does last night's game make you feel a little bit better about, you know how hard it is to win week to week in the NFL. Does last night's game make your game a little bit easier to swallow?
Well, it does. I don't know that it does that, but it just reminds me again, which I don't need reminded, just how even this thing is, just how, I'm not going to say hard one more time, but just how competitive it is in the NFL. There's 75,000 football players playing in college out here right now this year. We'll draft about 400 of them, 500 of them. There'll be 150 left in about 2.5 years out of the 75,000 or so that are playing out there today. Those guys won't be out on that field unless they're hellacious football players. And boy, when you got that makeup that you're playing against, you got a chance to come out there disappointed. That's how it does the other night.
Jerry, the fourth down, did you agree with going for it there, or would you have taken the field goal or attempted the field goal, I should say?
Listen, the fact that the fact it's debatable gives me all that I need. We've been running the ball really well. And we had, in my mind, every opportunity to make those plays. I can go back through, we all can, and there are 5 times during those last 2 possessions that this game could have been iced away. And we didn't the 5 times, the fumble on the sideline. We were so close to having that fumble that would have iced the game for us in my mind. So, this is one of those you can beat yourself up. You got to be careful. Body language is such a big deal, and it certainly is really relative to a player's game. And you got to be careful overdoing this thing on beating yourself up. You want to improve, you want to get better, but you need to get this one behind you.
Jerry, last year you had told us that there were some issues with the wide receivers and the route running. They weren't running some of the right routes, and it was causing some interceptions from Dak. We saw 2 interceptions in this game where it looked like the wide receivers could have been at fault. What is the issue with the communication, with the routes, with Dak and the wide receivers, if there is any?
Well, those both those routes I think you're referring to were faith routes. You have got to have faith in that the receiver's seeing the same thing you are if you're the quarterback, and that you're going to basically react to what the safety's doing, and in this case, flatten out and go across on a flatter trajectory. And that didn't happen for us, but the route we'd had success with it. Had another time we had real success with it in the ball game. You generally step back and say, "Oh my God, throwing a pass in the middle, what a risky thing to do." But that's one of our best routes. We're good at it. We practice it a lot. We just didn't execute it.
Jerry Jones with us.
It was us with not executing it. It was not executing. Now, by the way, C.D. Lamb, for instance, had the best game that I've ever seen him play, and so for the Cowboys. And and man, is that encouraging to see him playing at that particular level. He except for the connection on those 2 interceptions, except for that, CD played the best I've ever seen him play, or I don't know that anybody can play better.
Jerry, does CeeDee's performance alter your thinking or change your mind about maybe getting a certain wide receiver out there in Odell Beckham?
I don't think so. I don't think so. A talent like Beckham is additive, and it just stacks on top of whatever. Now, we thought a lot of CD. Your question was, does the performance? No, we thought and think a lot of what he's capable of being for this team. And Beckham is really the whole nature of it is can he get us substantively above where we are? And the answer is we'll see how that is.
Yeah, Jerry, my follow-up, I heard the Packer crowd, some of the Cowboy fans that showed up chanting Odell, sign Odell. Why isn't this just done yet?
Well, first of all, we've got, in this particular case, excuse me, in this particular case, start by asking, why is it that you're able to sign him? Ask that question. Why? Well, because he's not on the team. At this time of year, a player of that caliber, that's rare. Trading's over. Well, it is because we're dealing with a situation where he's free, but potentially very capable of helping a team right now win and play, and him play at a high level. But that'll tell you alone it is a rarefied set of circumstances, and those are don't just happen, or this wouldn't be possible.
Jerry Jones with Sean and RJ on the Fan. Mike McCarthy did not sound happy with the officiating afterwards, Jerry. Tolbert offsides, McGovern hold, CeeDee possible pass interference. Did you have a major problem with the way the officiating may have decided the Packer game?
The point is that if I'm going to allude to last night because we saw that game controversially played with some discussion relative to the officiating. And obviously we want to be very careful here with how we say that. It's a tough job out there for those guys. You usually haven't played a football game if you don't have several calls that you'd like to have go your way. That didn't.
You don't think that your Halloween costume contributed to any of this, do you?
Well, the point is that if it did, I don't want to do any more by means of this basic radio show or anything else. I don't want to do anything more to create that overhang.
Jerry, Micah talked about the run defense afterwards. Assignments need to be followed. Mike McCarthy yesterday said teams are just going to keep doing this until we prove we can stop it. Is the run defense the Achilles heel of the Cowboys?
No, I think really you can step back and look at a big mountain and that may be notorious to climb or challenging to climb. Man, stopping the running game is, I've been hearing that as long as I've heard the word football. So you've got to get it down when someone when the teams get it to where they're executing it pretty good. It's quite a formidable thing to win a football game against a team that can really run the ball. And we're playing one this weekend, and that's we jumped right out of the frying pan into the fire here as far as a challenge of how to address the running game when we play Minnesota. So, it's here. It's going to be here from here on out as we work hopefully into the playoffs. From here on out, it's going to be the one consistent is you got to stop the running game.
Jerry, do you feel confident that the answers to stop the running game are on your roster, or do you wish you maybe had done a little bit more during the trade deadline besides Hankins to address it?
Well, I think that we've got the personnel to play defense at a level that could really give us success as we go forward. I really do. Now, that's a wordy answer, but the answer is yes. I think we're in really good shape. We've got good depth. We're, as of this morning, we're in great shape injury-wise across the board on our defense. Actually got a little help on the way coming. And so I feel real good about our defense. And, man, I like the way we're coached. I like the way we are basically addressing, if you will, the run and how to stop the run. You know, I immediately always go to, well, if you can't stop the run, it must mean you're being big boyed in the middle, or that'd be an issue. I don't believe that's the case here. I think we've got a combinations of things. We get the right fits, right execution, which we can do. We have the players to do it. We can be better than we were the other night.
Jerry, did you like how Micah was used in this game? It looks like he had about a dozen pass rushes. The rest of the time he was either in coverage or at linebacker. How do you prefer him to be used?
Well, I just want Micah to be Micah, and he can impact the game at any designated addressing any part of the other team's game. He can do that. We all know that. That's tried to say. But more importantly, we did not think that Rodgers was going to throw the ball a lot, and he didn't. And we did think they were going to run a lot, and they did. And so that's how he was deployed, and I understand the reasons that he was where he was logistically during the game, and don't have an issue with that.
Jerry Jones, brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you, every Tuesday with Sean and RJ. Jerry, a lot of fans are extra angry because, you know, how could we look like this off the bye week? We had extra time to prepare. In all your experience in the league, what do you expect? Do you expect a lot more coming off a bye week, or is that a little bit overblown?
No, it is not overblown, and you do need to be rested when your bye comes. You need to take advantage of it and get some rest. We were able to do that. Mike is excellent at recognizing downtime as very important. We got downtime rest. You'd like to, I know you're going to point to it and say, well, however you did it, you need to do it another way because it didn't work. And that's pretty harsh, but still, that was disappointing to be in the shape we're in. I do look at availability on a team, on an overall team. The classic was winning games with Rush when we didn't have Dak Prescott available. And, boy, when you can suit up and have your best available, then you expect to have the result, which would be positive. When you don't do that, then you say, they're on top of that. We had them all out there. That happened to us last year in the playoffs, and that's a more bitter pill.
Speaking of quarterback, yesterday your friend, which we're still very disturbed over, Jerry, Stephen A. Smith. Are you still claiming him as your buddy over there?
Well, I haven't. I might need to get tuned in with any of his latest. I run hot and cold on him.
All right.
Oh, man.
Yesterday, I think you're going to be cold. Yesterday, he said Jerry Jones has not gotten his money's worth out of Dak Prescott. He could be this team's weak link. What would you say back to Stephen A?
I can say that's not correct. The reason that not the reason, that's unfair to Dak, unfair to all the other players on the team, but the strength that I look at of our chance to win a championship is Dak and his leadership at that position. But his leadership, but because he plays that position, let me say it that way. And so I would not, and he didn't expect me to, I'm sure, but I don't think that's accurate. Dak brings us the separator. But now, does that mean that Dak's going to win every game or make every comeback or every key situation? You can answer that one. Of course not. But by the same token, if you were constructing the possibility of competing for a Super Bowl, I would start on this team. I would start right there with Dak. He's that integral to us really being able to have the year we want to have.
Jerry, did you look at the box score and say, a little bit too heavy with the pass attempts, 46 pass attempts versus the way you were running it on the ground, or were you okay with the way the game played out with Pollard running without Zeke?
Well, you said it in your question. The game played out that way. The intent was to have more balance. And if you wanted to second guess some of those throws we made at the end, and make them runs, then you would say you might have had a different result. But I know what we were trying to do in the game, and it was to have a balanced run, pass and attack, and, as opposed to what we had. We had more plans for that to be more even. Jerry,
last one, because some people are saying we're being way too overconfident for being third place in the division. How are you looking at the standings right now in the NFC? How are you looking at possible forecasts, where you guys are, how things are setting up for you at 6-3?
Well, if you really looked at it right now, and I'm only on this because like several million people, I watched it last night. But here we are at 6-3. We're at the position we're in our division, but yet we're in the playoffs. And it's certainly possible for teams. I'm not going to be trite, but we've got key division games left. But we also have the possibility of not winning the division and being in the playoffs. And that's not how we want to do it. That's not the way we're going to plan on doing it. But that's how I look at it. It's kind of the way you saw it on the board after the game last night between the Washington team and the Eagles. You saw us sitting there numbered up in the playoff. Now, that's really just something to look at, because the reality is we've got all these games. We've got all these games head-to-head, and this thing will change completely.
Jerry, are your Christmas lights up right now?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
They absolutely are. They're every place that I can flip a switch that's going to have a light has got a light. And, I start early on that, and really stay late. I keep them up late, too. But I'm one of these guys that could keep them on year-round, really.
Oh, I agree with that one. I definitely could. Are you a white light guy, or do you go red and white, like the candy cane, or that weird green, blue, red, yellow kind of light thing that we see people have?
Yeah, you may have covered the gambit now. I know some more are out there, but, I'm a traditional guy, really. I got to see the traditional multicolored celebration. I really, if I had to be one or the other, but my grounds usually are basically white, and just when I'm talking outside trees or anything like that, we get to get involved. And of course, around the Cowboys, it's blue.
Yes, sir.
Right,
He's got all of them. Thank you so much for the Radio Gold as always. Best of luck this week. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you on Friday, Jerry. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right. Bye-bye.